Culturally Responsive Instruction by Marguerite Sutton. In order to master culturally responsive instruction, you need to have culturally responsive relationships, culturally responsive curriculum, and delivery. In culturally responsive relationships, this is a section where you will connect with your students. Therefore, there's things you need to learn, adapt, and develop. First, learn about your students' individual cultures. You want to get to know your students. Teachers use a back to school survey as well as a human bingo in the beginning of the school year to get to learn the students' likes and dislikes. You also want to learn the students' strengths and weaknesses, academically, emotionally, and socially. Second, adapt your teaching to the way your students learn. You want to make the content meaningful to the students so they feel a connection to the curriculum that you are teaching. Also, use students' culture as a tool to teach them. Third, develop a connection with the most challenging students. You want to first build positive relationships with all the students. Engage the most challenging students by adapting the curriculum and instruction to their way of learning. If you can get the most challenging students to engage in the lesson, the rest of the students will follow. You want to use surveys and questionnaires to learn the students' interests and encourage the students to share information about themselves. The more they feel connected to the classroom, the better the culture of the classroom will be. Culturally responsive curriculum. In this section, you want to connect the culture of the students to the content. In this aspect, you will first teach, then use, and incorporate. First, you will teach in a way that students understand. If you are standing in front of your classroom and students are not connected and not engaged 100%, then they more than likely don't understand what you are talking about. You want to use cultural capital to capture the students' attention and engage them in the curriculum. You should have the attention of every single student in your classroom. Second, use student-centered stories, vocabulary, and examples. You want to connect the curriculum to the interests and activities of the students. Therefore, you should use stories that critically hooks students' attention and makes them more receptive to learning the curriculum. Again, if you use things that interest students in the classroom, then they will be more receptive to learning what you are teaching and hooked to the curriculum that you are teaching as well. Third, incorporate relatable aspects of students' lives. You want to incorporate their learning styles, whether they're auditory or they learn kinesthetically, as well as their culture. You want to also incorporate their background or any prior knowledge that they may have on the topic that you are teaching. You also want to incorporate vocabulary that they are familiar with, as well as music and sports into that curriculum to capture their attention. In a culturally responsive classroom, teachers could use sports for math problems as well as music, which includes poetry, to help students create similes and metaphors as well. Culturally responsive delivery is how you present the content to the students. In this case, you want to establish, stay, continually interact, and use. First, establish an interactive dialogue to engage all students. You want to consistently ask questions as a tool to interact and to give immediate feedback to students. Questions must be specific and goal oriented. This way, students know how to answer the questions, and you have an idea of how you want them to answer the questions as well. Stay within your comfort zone and don't come off as fake when you're delivering your content. You want to be sincere and be yourself. Make sure you show the students that you care as well, and make the content relevant, but stay in your element. You want to make sure that you're not trying to do too much or too little, but just right where it's in your element as well as in the students to help them understand what they are learning. Continually interact with students and provide frequent feedback. You want to make sure that you're giving students feedback on things they're doing well as things that they need to improve on to make sure that they understand the curriculum 100%. When you give students consistent feedback on things that they're doing well, then they want to thrive in your class. And when you give students feedback on things they need to improve on, then they will always try to work really hard to reach the bar. Also, find multiple ways to interact with students and to deliver the lesson. One website that teachers could use is called Kahoot. It is an interactive way for students to engage in the lesson using technology, which is an elevating piece of learning in today's society. Lastly, use frequent questioning as a vehicle to keep students involved in the classroom. You want to consistently ask students questions to engage in the class and have interactive dialogue as well. Do not just lecture for long periods of time, include students in the lesson. It is said that within the first 10 minutes of class is the only time that students really understand the lectures. So don't just lecture the students, have them interact in the classroom as well. Include academic discussions, group, and partner work that are driven by question and answer exchanges. This way, students are not just listening and learning, but they're also engaged and feel included in the curriculum in which you are teaching. Overall, culturally responsive instruction is a place where strong and positive relationships are built. The curriculum is understandable and relevant to the students, and the delivery is engaging and interactive. If all these things are true, then you will have a culturally responsive classroom that students will want to be in.